Welcome back. On today's video, we're going to be looking at both the Patowmack Canal, which is the predecessor to the C&O Canal, and then the Pawtucket Canal. First, the Patowmack Canal, sometimes incorrectly referred to as the Potomac Canal. This canal was the predecessor to the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal.
After the Revolutionary War, Washington feared more than ever the loose allegiances of the now sovereign states. There was also still a great desire to continue acquiring land and finding a pathway to the western frontier. The Ohio River Valley, west of the Pennsylvania's Allegheny Mountains, was the goal. This waterway would also give access to the East Coast and the trade routes across the Atlantic. And most importantly, it led to the headwaters of the Ohio River, with access to the western frontier. So, in 1784, Washington helped lobby the States Assembly to establish a company to improve navigation on the Potomac River. The Potomac Canal Company was incorporated May 17, 1785. This was actually one of the first publicly traded companies in the new nation. The Potomac River presented real physical obstacles to travel. It was narrow and winding in places. It dropped over 600 feet in 200 miles from Cumberland to sea level. Spring rains swelled the rivers to dangerous heights. Summer droughts can render it impassable. To make the river navigable by even shallow draft boats, the Potomac Company had to dredge portions of the riverbed and create 5 canals to skirt the 5 areas of waterfalls. Construction began in 1785, and after 17 years of work, the canal was completed and became operational in 1802. The upriver portion of the canal system was made first. These structures were built with mixed workforces, unskilled laborers, indentured servants, and yes, even some enslaved laborers rented from nearby plantations. The building of the skirting canals required engineering skills and a labor force not easily found in 18th century America. In 1792, 1 year after work began at Little Falls, there were over 100 men digging the canal bypass. The work was difficult and dangerous. With one of the earliest usage in this country of black powder blasting, workers forced the canal through the rock cliffs of the final 3 locks. Upstream of Great Falls, locks weren't needed. Instead, the river was dredged and the boulders removed to accommodate passage. Downstream at Great Falls and Little Falls, canal locks were used to counter elevation changes from the Potomac Gorge to Georgetown. In total, 5 skirting canals were created: Seneca Falls, House Falls, and Payne's Falls, which did not require locks. Little Falls and Great Falls did require the use of locks. The first canal section bypassed Little Falls. It ran 3,814 yards on the Maryland side of the river. The original locks near today's Fletcher's Boathouse were made of wood. The skirting canal was finished in 1795. These wooden locks were replaced with stone locks in 1817 and had a lift of 37 feet. The first 2 locks were named Martha and George after Martha Washington and George Washington. This canal section was later repurposed for the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal. The second skirting canal, and by far the most demanding to build, was the Great Falls Canal. This canal used locks to bypass the Great Falls of the Potomac River. At this point, the river drops nearly 80 feet in less than a mile. Swift currents, solid rock, and constant financial and labor problems hindered progress. It was 1,820 yards long and was completed in 1801 and opened to traffic in 1802. It took 5 locks to raise or lower boats to skirt around Great Falls. The locks were constructed of red sandstone from the Seneca Quarry across the river in Maryland. Looking through the whole canal could be accomplished in about an hour. An entire town grew up around the construction site to serve as headquarters for the Potomac Company and home for the workers. The town was named Matildaville by its founder, the Revolutionary War hero Light Horse Harry Lee, who was father of Robert E. Lee. He named the town for his first wife, Matilda Lee. The third skirting canal was the Seneca Falls Canal, not to be confused with the Seneca Falls Canal in New York State. It was 1,320 yards long, and despite going down 7 feet, it had no locks. It was constructed on the Virginia side. The fourth skirting canal was the Shenandoah, also called Payne's Falls Canal, or the Bullring Canal. This canal, just below Harper's Ferry, was 1,760 yards long, dropped 15 feet, and had no locks either. It was made up of two short skirting canals with a short sheet of water about a quarter mile between them. The fifth skirting canal was the Housefall Canal or the Long Canal. This Maryland canal had no locks and overcame a drop of 3 feet. This canal was reused for the C&O Canal between Dam No. 3 and Lock 34, also known as Goodhart's Lock. When the Erie Canal opened in 1825, it immediately became a rival, controlling a connection between the Great Lakes and the eastern seaboard. The Potomac Company folded in 1828, turning over its assets and liabilities to the newly formed C&O Canal Company. The new company abandoned the Potomac Canal except for a small section at Little Falls in 1830 for an even more ambitious undertaking, a man-made waterway stretching from Georgetown to Pittsburgh. Although the Potomac Company was a financial failure, its builders pioneered lock engineering and stimulated a wave of canal construction important to the country's development. George Washington did not live to see the completion of the navigation project that had been his obsession since youth, but he did take pride in visiting the canal during the construction to inspect its progress. He died in 1799, 2 years before the canal opened. Today, the surviving sections of the canal can be seen along the George Washington Memorial Parkway. In particular, at Great Falls Park, you can still see the lock ruins.
Next is the Pawtucket Canal. Completed in 1796, this canal was originally built as a transportation canal to circumvent the Pawtucket Falls on the Merrimack River in East Chelmsford, Massachusetts. In the early 1820s, it became a major component of the Lowell Power Canal system, with the founding of the textile industry at what became the city of Lowell. The Pawtucket Falls are a mile-long series of falls and rapids over which the Merrimack River dropped 32 feet. The falls hampered the shipment of inland goods, mostly lumber, to the mouth of the Merrimack and Newburyport, Massachusetts. Newburyport was then one of the largest shipbuilding centers in New England, and a constant supply of wood from New Hampshire was critical to its industry. The original canal was built by wealthy Boston merchants who formed a limited liability corporation called the Proprietors of Locks and Canals, one of the first of its kind in the United States. However, within a single decade of its construction, the Middlesex Canal was completed, connecting the Merrimack directly with Boston. Bringing goods directly to Boston was much more advantageous for the merchants, and the Pawtucket Canal quickly fell out of favor for inland transportation. The investors in the Boston Manufacturing Company, having successfully built upon Francis Cabot Lowell and Paul Moody's work in building a successful integrated cotton mill, were looking for a site that offered more water power, and the Pawtucket Falls offered what they needed. In 1821, they purchased the Proprietors of Locks and Canals, and with it all the water rights. The Pawtucket Canal was deepened to become a power canal. The first 5.6 miles of canal were in the soon-to-be-named city of Lowell. The first canal built off the Pawtucket Canal was the Merrimack Canal, which powered the Merrimack Manufacturing Company, thus starting what was called the Lowell Experiment, and the first planned industrial city in the United States. The Pawtucket Canal took 5 years and cost $50,000 to construct. The canal was 1.5 miles long and used 4 locks to accommodate the 32-foot difference in elevation between the upper Merrimack and the Concord River. One of the 4 locks was eventually deconstructed, leaving the 3 we still have today. The guard locks near Broadway, the swamp locks off of Dutton Street, and the lower locks, which are right next to the Lowell Inn and Conference Center, which is where the Pawtucket Canal enters the Concord River. I really hope you enjoyed the second installment of North American Man-Made Canals and Waterways. On our next video, we'll be talking about the Conewago Canal and the Turner's Falls Canal. So if you enjoyed this video, don't miss it. And in future installments, we will try to cover all the man-made navigation waterways of North America, both well-known and obscure. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment below. We do absolutely love hearing from you. And thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos in this series. Thank you.